Morris Allen once told me, make your judo work for you. Or when we were training in Sambo, make your Sambo work for you. In other words, make your technique work for you. And that requires some thought and effort on both the coach's part and the student's part, or the athlete's part. And part of that effort is being creative. A good coach will teach the fundamentals, the core skills. You cannot get away from fundamentals, but teach those fundamentals and then encourage and allow your student to be creative, to make that technique work for that student. That's the essence of being functional and creating effective, high ratio of success skills. So being creative is really an important part of training. When coaching, always stress fundamentals. Remember, elite level performance, world class performance in anything, especially whether it be judo, sambo, any of the fighting arts or fighting sports, really elite level performance is nothing more than fundamentals done to their full potential. But to get to that full potential, a good coach will allow his students to be creative. And by being creative, you're giving your students parameters or guidelines to follow, but after they learn the fundamental skill of the technique, the actual technique itself, then allow them to think, and you encourage them to make it work for them. So, and you'll find when you allow this and do this as a coach, your students will come up with some really amazing things. They'll come up with things that you hadn't thought of, or somebody else hadn't thought of maybe, but certainly they hadn't thought of, and they're thinking of it themselves, and it sinks it in better, and they remember it better, and they learn it, and they will retain it and use it because they thought of it themselves, and they made it work for themselves. Now, you may have led them in the direction to think of that move or that particular line of thought, but you got them there, and they are now thinking about creating something that'll work for them. So let's take about let's talk about Udigarami, the arm entanglement or the bent arm lock. Basically, it's you grab him, you bend his arm, you crank it either upwards or downwards. Okay, basics. Teach the basics very skillfully and correctly, and have them do it. And there are a lot of variations, but remember, all these variations come about because somebody thought of it. Somebody got creative and thought a different way of doing that bent arm lock, that Udigarami. So allow your students, after you teach them the good fundamentals, and drill it and drill it and drill it so they really have them down, then slide in, without saying a whole lot about it, some time to give them to work on their own. Okay, I do a drill I've used for many years. I've come to call grappler's choice. Okay, and what happens is I'll teach a move, or say a group of athletes that already know a move. Let's say, okay, guys, they all know Udigarami, the bent arm lock, the arm entanglement. I'll say, okay, guys, let's do grappler's choice. Let's do the drill. I'd like you to work around and work on as many different ways as you can get into Udigarami from different situations. I may give them a specific situation to work from. Okay, he's got him in a particular position or whatever it may be. I'll say, let's work on that. Now, I've shown them some ways to do that, and they'll do those. But it'll also allow them time to work the kinks out for them, to work out what may work a little bit better for this person or that person, depending on body type, strength, size, attitude, whatever it may be, their particular focus on what they're doing. So you give them some time to be creative and practice. Now, you're not going to turn the whole practice session over to it. And it's a specific time in my drills training that I do. And I don't do it every practice, but I do it with some frequency to allow and I do it mainly with adults. We do it some with the kids, but mainly with the adults, to allow them to come up with new ways to figure out a way to do this move or that move. Or I'll put them in a situation and say, okay, let's work on this and see how they do. Another one I call a roll around drill, where I'll say, okay, guys, we'll start with Jujigatami, and you keep rolling. Now, the idea is to keep rolling in Jujigatami, and my partner will cooperate. He'll keep rolling for me, because we know that you don't always get your arm lock or whatever move it is maybe on the first time. You may have to roll him a second or third time, but you keep adjusting and keep changing. So if you're doing it with your partner, you keep adapting as you roll, and you may end up in a totally different Jujigatami than you started with. Often you do. I'll also apply that to submissions. I'll say, okay, and we often start with a Jujigatami. I'll say, guys, start with this Jujigatami and roll, and you can stay with Jujigatami, or you can work into a different submission if you wish. and they'll work into a different submission. I'll do it on you, and we're working with cooperation. But partner, when you cooperate, you roll around with me. You keep going to make me have to keep getting and rolling you in a different position. That makes me be creative. Okay, it makes me think on my feet or think while I'm moving. And that's what you want your students to do if you're a coach. You want them to be able to, bam, get that think on their move, because plan A might not work. You have to go to plan B. That's what we're talking about here. That allows them, by doing that, allows them to be creative. So that's just a drill you can use to allow your students to be creative. Okay, so there are a couple of drills, grappler's choice, and then just a roll around drill, and there are others as well. And that's, again, when we look at Randori, free practice, open practice, that's what being creative is about. You're allowing the students to do the moves they like to do. And if they get caught in a rut, then that's where you step in. As supervised Randori is always essential. Help them out. But remember, think of Randori in this case as a drill. And it is very much a drill in that sense, because you're allowing the students, freedom of movement, creative movement. The whole idea that Randori came from when Kano started Kito-ryu Jiu-Jitsu or studied Kito-ryu was Ran Otoru, which means freedom of action, to take freedom of action. Well, that's what Randori allows you to do, and it allows you to be creative. So, not all Randori, but in practice, you have your structured drill training and your structured Randori, and allow your students to be creative and encourage them to be creative. So those are some ideas about being creative in practice, and I encourage, and even your kids now, kids, when you're training with kids as well, encourage them to be creative, but with children, they need more direction. So I'm kind of speaking more for adults, because I coach a lot of adults these days. But when I was coaching kids for many years, I generally kept it more structured and didn't allow as much creativity at first. The older ones I did. But when I did say, in being creative, I might have seen a little 10-year-old do a particular way to do Tai Otoshi, the body drop, that was working really well for him or her. Well, then encourage them, if it was a good functional way and they tend to do it naturally, encourage them to do it that way. And if it was still technically correct. And that way, they kind of created it on their own. They might not even thought that they did, but they did it naturally. And you encourage them to do it that way, that would work better for them in a more functional manner. And they would have a higher ratio of success because of that. So that's the point of it. We want good functional technique or skill. And part of that function, that being functional, is a high ratio of success, as high a ratio of success as we can, and still retain fundamentally correct, skillful technique. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So if you allow your students to be creative, all the better for them, all the better for you, and you'll get some great results. The upcoming segment shows a drill we use quite often. We call it the roll-around Jujigatami drill, or the roll-around submission drill. And the idea here is for the attacker to continually, he'll start with, say, Jujigatami, and he will keep rolling his partner around till he does apply the Jujigatami. Now the partner, or uke, his job is to continually roll around and offer various degrees of resistance. You can do this with total cooperation, which I recommend highly at first, and then allow the students to give some different levels of cooperation, for the partner, or so of resistance, I should say, levels of resistance. And this is very good, but don't give total 100% resistance. It becomes then just a randori or a fight. But you want it to be a structured drill. So what will happen is player A or athlete A will start with Jujigatami. He'll roll his partner around. The first one may not work. The second one may not work. The third one may roll into it, a completely different style of Jujigatami, and it will work. The idea here is, in some cases, your first application, your first try at doing a move might not always work, so you have to go to plan B. This teaches you how to be creative in working into that plan B. It gives you an idea of what you can do if the first one doesn't work. It also teaches the athlete to think under pressure, to continually apply pressure until he gets the move that he wants. We also apply this we can start with a Jujigatami, or we can start with a choke, or any type of specific move we want, a breakdown, forearm near leg, and the partner will then keep rolling out of it till the attacker has to eventually get some other type of submission move. So you can do it. I do it a lot with Jujigatami, because we train a lot of Jujigatami in my club, but we also do it with other submission and pinning techniques as well. So it does that does allow both people to be creative. It also helps the partner who's kind of being the defender, the uke, to be creative and rolling out and getting out of trouble. So it's a good drill for him as well. It's a great drill to use, a very active, dynamic drill, and it's still structured and teaches a lot of good things, and it allows your students to be creative. And that's one of the cool things about this drill. So I really recommend this drill.
Okay. And cooperate with each other. It's not a fighting drill. It's not a fighting drill. It's a cooperation drill. And you start with Jujigatami, and you stay with it. You keep rolling until eventually you get it.
There you go.
You might have to roll several times to get it, do some leg drags, whatever it may take. But eventually you're going to get that Jujigatami. And he'll let it, you know, he gives you about the bottom guy, the defender goes about 50% resistance, maybe not even that. But you might have to shift from one way to the other to get Jujigatami, and eventually you get it. There you go. So Eric just got it in that first drill. Now Derek's going to go on Eric. And the idea is to stay round and keep rolling until you get the Jujigatami eventually. We just call it the roll around Jujigatami drill. And that's exactly what you're doing. And again, guys, it's not a fighting drill. It's a cooperation drill. Eventually, the defender will give up the Jujigatami, but make the guy earn it. And the guy keep rolling, keep applying it. And you can see how, and the guys will just start rolling and keep trying to do it. They may run out of mat even. There you go. Nick got that with TJ, and it'll be TJ's turn. So the idea is just keep rolling till you get your Jujigatami, because you don't always get your Jujigatami on the first try. And what this does is teaches you to keep going for it, and eventually you'll get it. Teach you some good skills along the way. That's where you really hone your skills at head roll juji, hip roll juji. There we got a hip roll juji, went back the other direction. Guys, we'll go about 5 rounds each. I'll do it till you tap, you do it till I tap. Go about 5 rounds of it. Give you a good workout. And again, this is a realistic Jujigatami drill. And again, it's not a fighting drill, it's cooperation. But you have to keep rolling around till you apply it. And you're going to work on different variations. You might have to work different levers. You might have to, you know, pry the arm free different directions. But again, that's what the guys are doing here. Let's pan back. You get about 5 rounds each, guys, and we'll move on to the next drill. And sometimes you put a nice little triangle in there with it to get that juji. That's the way to do it. That's the idea of the drill. You never know what you'll have to do to get that Jujigatami to get.
One more each, man. One more. Finish out one more each.
following segment is a good example of the grappler's choice drill. Notice when the guys are doing this, they're cooperating with each other, but they're continually moving. I give them a specific period of time to work in, or a specific task to work for. I may say a particular goal we want to do, or I might just say, okay, guys, we have 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it may be. Let's just keep moving. And the idea is to continually go from one move to the next, and each grappler, his choice to do that move. So grappler's choice is a great training drill. I use this a lot for adults. I don't use it so much for kids. I keep things far more structured with children. But adults, especially on a good level of skill, you got your more advanced guys coming into the gym, even novices who are really beginning to pick it up and learn some good things. This is a great way for them to be creative and to really just practice the moves they like to practice and get good at it in a very functional way. So here we go with grappler's choice.
We're doing grappler's choice on just a warm-up drill. It's about our second or third drill tonight for starting practice. Snap down, go behind, and again, grappler's choice. So in this case, we just saw a beautiful Hungarian roll from Eric, and a snap down, go behind. Derek's going to do a nice head roll juji, which he's done plenty of times in his career on guys. So we're just kind of showing a little bit of, I'll key in on these two groups here tonight. That was a nice rolling single wing choke Mike did on JT, and snap down, go behind, and let's see what he's got. Okay, head roll juji, nice. So that's what the guys are drilling on. So the purpose of this drill is really to teach transitional skills. Real fast, aggressive, correct movement. You can't do this with beginners. Guys who've been around a while and know how to do a snap down, know how to get a move from a standing to ground situation. That's what we're drilling on tonight. And we got some of the more advanced guys in training with me tonight. There was a good flatten out, belly down, and go for a choke stuff. Let's key in on what the guys are doing over here. And each guy's doing about 10 repetitions of what he wants to do. He doesn't have to do the same move every time. Some drills, sometimes we do the same move every time. So Eric would do constantly the same rolling arm lock or whatever it may be, or Derek would be in his own same thing. But in this case, we're letting them kind of work on different skills as they do it tonight. Just a good general practice. So you can see snap down, and again, he's doing just a nice rolling triangle choke from a top ride position. So that's what the guys are doing as a warm-up tonight. It's a great warm-up for your more advanced guys, and they know how to, again, the idea here is to work on transition skills from standing to the ground. There you go, nice little rolling choke into a Juji Gatame. All roads lead to Juji. So that's what the guys are doing here, kind of a snap down, transition drill, again, grappler's choice. And this, I often do this with the guys to let them explore the techniques they like to use, or they want to use, and get better at some things they maybe don't use very often. And this is how they figure out ways they can do it better. So there you have it, grappler's choice, transition drill, kind of a snap. The guys are just drilling, taking turns on doing a breakdown to an osaikomi or pinning situation, hold down situation, hold them there in control, and work into a submission. So we're linking things together. And it's just kind of an open practice where I give the guys an assignment and a drill, and have them do the things they like to do, whatever they may want to do. They might want to finish with some other type of a move that the other person does one thing and you do another thing. So it's kind of on your own, but it's still structured. The guys are working specific moves that they like to work on. There you go. You see Derek then working kind of a Kamishiho Gatame upper body hold, and then he goes right into the bent arm lock Udegarami. Okay, shoots a breakdown, gets a pin. There's Ryan working it there. And now he's gonna. And remember, guys, you want to make sure you maintain control till you finish him off. You've got to keep that osaikomi, that pin going, till you get the submission.
Just be a little bit more pushy with your elbow. That's a good backup.
Good both leg breakdown, come to the side. There he's got his hold. Now good side control. Going to go to a Kesa-gatame situation. Looks like a kata-gatame. Shoulder lock, kata-jime, shoulder choke there. See the guys working on, it's like a little waki-gatame action there. Mike did a breakdown. Let's see where he goes with this. And again, I'm giving let them have their own work. Oh, down direction udagarami. Very nice. Shoot the forearm near leg. Works it. It's good side control. And now he's going to keep working. He's going to spin around, come around the opposite side. Juji. Nice spin around Juji from the top. It's a back roll Juji, but from a he did about, did 180. And there we have it. So often we'll let it's just an open practice. When we have a practice like this, I'll say, guys, do this, give them an assignment for a drill, and they're all skilled enough that they can do their own thing. They're not just doing one specific thing. It's a kind of an open mat in that way, but it's still a very structured workout. Often these are very good drills, and they let you do the things you do best. This is a good functional approach to training. Just have the guys finish up here a bit. We usually let them have time to do, 8, 10, 15 each, whatever it may be. Sometimes shorter. And this is really good if there aren't many people on the mat. Tonight we only have about 6 or 7 guys on the mat, and this is a good way to practice and do a lot of moves and get a lot of good work in. So Mike shooting the forearm near leg, got it, very nice. Got side control, udagatame, coming over the top. He's been working that tonight. He's been working over where he spins over, comes back with a juji, does a 180. Very nice. So there you have it, some drills, breakdown, pursue, and follow through with the submission. This is very good for freestyle judo or sambo, where you want to get your hold, get your points for your hold, and then finish them off. So there we have it, kind of a pursuit drill and grappler's choice. We call this grappler's choice when we do these type of drills. That was a nice breakdown and a nice finish. He's gonna, looks like Udagarami.